Hey guys, it's Callum here. I really want to run you through something very exciting that we've actually put a very long time and a lot of effort into. This, you may have seen this in the studio. I think a lot of people have. A lot of people have seen a simplified version. We wanted to add a bit more realism into this because we have to be realistic when it comes to the journey, okay? And that's what I want to run you through in this episode, because if our expectations don't meet reality, we're going to set ourselves up not for failure, but we're going to set ourselves up for disappointment. If we think that we're doing all the right things, but in reality we're not doing all the right things, and we don't hit our goals when we think we should be hitting our goals, it's going to set up a lot of disappointment. So I want to actually map out the whole journey for you, and this is something that we've been able to see from every member that we've ever had. You know, we've looked at the data, we've looked at the results, we've looked at what happens along the journey, and this is a product of that, okay? There are some good things, there are some bad things, and we want to make you aware of the bad things so you can overcome them, and we also want to make you aware of the good things so that you can work towards them and actually, feel proud of yourself when you do hit them, okay? So the goal for today is for me to run you through this whole thing and for it to open up a bit of awareness for you and for you to reflect on this, especially in your journey at the moment, where you're at and what it does for you. If it opens up a whole heap of new questions for you, please reach out, ask us, come in, let's have a chat. We really want to go through this, and we really want you guys to understand and really acknowledge the journey, because it's not an easy thing. But the aim of the game is for us to not, hit our first barrier and then think we're a complete failure and then give up, because the barriers are part of the process, and you're going to see me run through that soon. So let's go through from the start all the way through. Now, one very important thing is that start doesn't necessarily mean the very start of your journey, because our journey is going to change. When our goals change or when things change, we're back here. Okay, we're not always going to be, here, or we're not always going to be up here. When goals change, life changes, things get in the way, things change. Maybe it pushes us all the way back. When we fall off the bandwagon and we need to get back on the horse, maybe we go back down here. Maybe we've had a rough month, we go back down here and we start, okay? So let's work through this. Now, when we first start out, the biggest thing to acknowledge is what's happening when we first start, because this is more of the unseen and untrackable data that you need to be aware of, because jumping on the scales or jumping on the body scanner at the very beginning, you're not going to see a lot. It's a baseline. It's a reference point for what you're going to achieve down the track. It's the same thing with this stuff here. So when you first start out, the aim of the game is for you to feel that sense of pride, because you're either starting something new and you've got this goal that you're actually trying to achieve and you're working towards it, or say your goals have changed. It's the same thing. You're starting on a new progression course, and you need to be proud of that, because not a lot of people take that step on actually doing something. A lot of people talk about taking action, talk about doing the stuff, but there's a very select few of people that actually become aware of the goal, aware of what needs to happen, and then actually takes action. So the fact that you're looking at this and the fact that you're taking and you're making a start is a massive deal. So this is something that everyone needs to understand, because it isn't just a little thing like, yeah, cool, I'm starting. It's like, no, most people won't even start. Most people just keep thinking about starting, and then, oh no, they get sidetracked to do something different, and then it takes way too long for them to start. So the fact that you're starting, be proud of that. So you're going to feel better because you are starting, okay? You're going to have more energy because you're going to feel more proud. You're going to be like, yep, I'm ready to go. Let's do this thing. So you're going to feel more motivated. And the aim of the game with starting is to start building habits, because now that you're aware of it, you're going to find that subconsciously you're going to be doing things that you don't necessarily always think about. Say, for example, now that you're on this journey and you're trying to drop some body fat. When you go out or when you see friends, you're going to start thinking more about what you're eating, or if you're drinking, you're going to start being more aware of it. That's the start of a habit build. Step one is being aware of it, and then we progress from there. Okay, so you're going to be building habits. Yes, you're going to be sore. That's part of the game. But on that too, being sore isn't a direct correlation for progress. So don't always get in the habit of thinking that you have to always be sore for it to be working, because that's incorrect, okay? And then, like I said before, feeling good because you're on track and you're making a change. Now, as we work our way up the progress line, the first 6 weeks is the aim of the game to hit that first milestone. Okay, so from week 1 to week 6, it's pretty much guns blazing. And we have all the resources here for you. And one of the big pieces of that is that you actually do the stuff that we say to do. Okay, we do a scan. Make sure you're tracking your calories for that week so you can see where you're at and maybe where you're missing the mark and maybe where you can make improvements. Okay, it's doing the 10,000 steps when you're not in the studio. It's building on these little habits. It's doing all of that stuff that's going to help you progress to this first milestone. Okay, we can give you everything that you need, but if you don't do any of it, you're not going to hit that first milestone in 6 weeks. And then when you don't hit that first milestone in 6 weeks, you're going to feel like crap. But in reality, it's because things haven't been done for you to get there. And that's one of the things that I was saying before is that, we want to have this meetup of expectation and reality, because if you have a goal that you're trying to achieve in 6 weeks, but you don't do the things that you know you need to be doing in that 6 weeks to hit that goal, you won't hit that goal and you are going to be disappointed. But it's about holding yourself accountable and being aware of the fact that, oh, I didn't do the stuff that I should have done. Okay. And then if you haven't and you didn't hit that milestone, it's not the end of the world. Don't get to that 6 week mark and be like, oh, I'm a piece of crap. I got to go and do something different. Like, don't go through that mindset. It's like, cool, it's my first learning experience. Now I'm aware of that it actually is going to take some work and it's not as easy as I maybe thought it was going to be. So let's dive in again. Okay, it's a learning experience. So aim of the game, if you do everything you need to be doing, you're going to hit that first milestone in that 6 weeks. All right. And from there, we're going to progress onto this next bit. So by the 12-week mark, this is where you're going to see those noticeable changes. Okay, we did a bunch of scans this week, and a lot of the period in between scans was this 12-week mark. And from what I noticed personally is that for everyone that had a scan and there was about a 12-week gap, it's when they could start to really understand in themselves. Clothes were fitting easier. Okay, they'd felt like they were stronger. Like there were noticeable changes. We see ourselves every single day. We're looking in the mirror. Like, we're not going to notice these changes ourselves until about the 12-week mark. So if it's before 12 weeks and you're getting caught up and you're starting to feel bad because you're like, I don't really feel any different. I don't know if I've made any changes. Don't sit there and stress about that. Okay, because it is going to take a lot longer for yourself to notice anything compared to other people. Okay, so once we progress beyond this 12-week mark, when you're starting to feel you're starting to feel the changes, you're starting to notice the changes, all of these little milestones along the way here is going to help with this stuff here. Okay, a lot of times we're not sure, but when we know that we are making progress, it helps with motivation. Okay, so don't try and think that you have to find all this motivation. In my experience, when you're making progress and you're seeing results, you're motivated because you know the work that you're putting in is actually paying off. So that's what we want to work towards. Now, once we get to this 15-week mark, by this time, our bodies are starting to understand what's going on. Okay, what happens is during this phase, it's new, we're pushing hard, and our bodies are reacting due to what we're doing. But the human body is pretty smart and it knows, it's pretty quick at catching on. So this is where we'll find that we need to focus on some more things to make sure that we can maintain that progress. And usually what happens here is that this is where we want to refine our nutrition. This is where we want to understand a little bit more about the calories that we're getting in. Are we getting enough protein? Are we eating too many calories? Are we eating not enough calories? This is where we want to start to focus on that a little bit more. You can get away with it here. I'm not going to say I want you to track everything you eat that goes into your mouth, because realistically speaking, we're all busy. We have a lot going on, and that's not something that we want to always prioritize. Maybe for some people it is, but I know in my experience, a lot of people, that's not the number one priority, and we want to be able to make this a lifestyle thing. And when we're counting calories, weighing all of our food, it just doesn't fit into our lifestyle, especially if we have a family and we're feeding our kids. It just doesn't work. But this is where we want to be a little bit more aware of what we are actually eating and understanding calories behind the food that we are eating. That's going to help us progress, okay? Now, this takes a little bit of time to figure out. Nutrition is probably one of the hardest things to understand. It took me so long to even learn what a protein was and like how carbs work and what fat does and how to even track it. So don't think you're going to pick it up and learn it straight away, and don't let that deter you either. Don't start doing some research and then being like, oh my God, this is way too hard. and then stop altogether. It's about doing it in little steps. So maybe you're just counting calories, you're not even looking at protein or anything like that. You're just trying to understand where your calories are at. I have another video that we're going to run through all of this, so don't stress too much. I don't want to make this video too long. But aim of the game here around this 15-week mark, we want to try and dive into our nutrition a little bit more, okay? Now, week 20, this is a big one because this is usually where a lot of people are going to backstep, okay? Plateaus happen. They happen to every single person. Like I said before, when our bodies adapt, because that's what our bodies are made to do, we're pretty smart. So our bodies are going to figure out what's going on. They're like, oh, you're trying to burn more calories so we lose body fat. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And then it'll change things up to make it more energy efficient. So you'll find that what maybe worked before isn't working as fast as it is now. That's usually where the beginner, they call it like beginner gains. It's like usually where you first start out, you make a bunch of progress really quickly, but then once your body kind of figures out what's going on, things slow down. And when things slow down, we immediately think that it's not working, and that's when we lose that motivation. And when we lose that motivation, we stop doing things, and then we go backwards. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, like because we stop doing the things that are actually working, we don't make progress, and then we blame the fact that we're not making progress on the thing that we should be doing. So it's like, don't get into that habit, okay? So I want to make sure that you're aware of this breaking through plateaus. And it may happen at week 15, it may happen at week 20, it may not happen until week 30. Everyone is different, but on the timeline, it's around this point that you are going to hit a plateau, okay? Things are going to get a little bit boring maybe. You may be like, oh, you know, I don't really see any changes. I want to change things up. You've got to fight through this barrier because this is an obstacle that everyone's going to encounter. Now, ways to break through plateaus. Like I said, I'm not gonna go through all of that in this video. I'm gonna have another video based on like each thing that's in here because it's gonna definitely help. But breaking through a plateau is one of the most rewarding things that you'll ever do because it gives you self-conviction that you can actually do something that's hard. You don't want to get to that first obstacle or that first hurdle and be like, ah, well, I tried, and then you stop and then you go back to square one. You can't do that. Like if you actually want to make progress and the goal is actually important to you, you need to push through. You need to push through that barrier. So a plateau happens when, like I said, your body just gets used to what's going on, and then things slow down. So it takes a bit of tweaking with a few things. So it's, like I said, with the nutrition, it's dialing in a bit more on nutrition. It's making things a little bit harder when you come in and see us during your sessions. It's doing your walks when you're not in the studio. If you can find time to walk 10,000 steps when you're not in the studio, that'll help. Doing a bunch of little things to just spice things up, keep yourself not complacent, that's when this happens, okay? That's when you break through that plateau and you start to see the results and then you're like, oh, okay, I just needed to shock my body a little bit. That's when it works, okay? So you break through the plateau, and then as we work forward, usually speaking, this back end of stuff is a lot easier because you've done the nitty-gritty, you know what happens, now it's just a consistency game. Now it's just doing the same thing and ensuring that you're progressively overloading, so you're making sure that you're pushing a little bit harder every time and you're doing a little bit more here and there. That's how it plays out, okay? So when you get to this 30-week mark, this is where we want to increase intensity. By this time, you know how your sessions run. You're pretty much a pro in, you know how everything works. You're coming in, you've learned a little bit more about nutrition. You maybe have some more questions because you're more aware of stuff. And we encourage you to ask all these questions. Don't try and keep it bottled inside. Don't feel like you're stupid because you don't know things. You're not supposed to know this stuff. But we want to know that you have these questions so we can give you the information. That's when it helps us, okay? So you get to this 30-week mark, this is where we want to start to add some intensity. So when you're doing your sessions, instead of saying yep when it feels like it's about a 7 out of 10, we want you to take it to an 8, okay? When you're holding a squat, if you're going halfway down, you want to go a little bit lower. You want to try and make sure that you're actively squeezing your muscles. You want to make sure you're taking things to that next level. You're aware of your body, you understand what you can do, you understand what you can't do. I'm not saying take it to the max and pass out. I'm saying you know where your comfort level is. Now you want to be out of your comfort level. So find that baseline and then keep inching yourself out of your comfort zone so that you can actually make progress. Because if you always stay in your comfort zone, you're never going to grow. Okay, you always want to make sure that we're pushing things a little bit further. So holding your squat for a little bit longer, doing punches for a little bit longer, making sure your levels are a little bit higher, dialing in a little bit more on your nutrition, making sure that you're sleeping a little bit longer, making sure you're recovering better, making sure you're prioritizing time a little bit better. Okay, that's what we're doing at this 30-week mark. And then from there, the reason there are bigger gaps in between here is because these do take a lot of time to master. This isn't something that you're going to get in a week and be like, cool, sweet, I've increased my intensity, I've upped the antics, let's go, baby. Sometimes it takes a month or two. Sometimes it takes 3 months to figure out. That's the whole point of this. It's not an easy thing. It's not just something that happens overnight. So we're working towards, we're upping our intensity, and then as we get to this 40-week mark, like as we progress on this journey, this is where it's like a maintenance thing now. So you're still progressing, but you want to make sure the habits are staying there. You're not falling off the bandwagon, because this is another area where you can get too complacent. You can increase intensity for a little bit, but then things may fall off and you may find yourself back here. You may find yourself you're back breaking through another plateau. Like maybe another plateau pops up here, and now we're going to try and break through that plateau again. But guess what? You already broke through this one. You know exactly what you have to do to break through this next one. It's the whole point. Don't get to a barrier and then fall back and go backwards. Break through it, so when it pops up again, you know how to achieve it. It's the whole point. So this is where we're at this maintenance phase. This is where we're doing the things, and it's more about a consistency thing, okay? It's making sure you're showing up to your sessions. Like I said before, making sure you're dialing in on your nutrition, making sure you're recovering, making sure you're asking questions when you're not sure, making sure you're following up on things, making sure you're doing the right stuff, okay? That's what this is. And then as we get further on the journey, if you can stick at this, we get to this point here, you've achieved that big goal. Whether your goal was to drop 20 kilos of body fat, 30 kilos of body fat, whatever that goal is, in this amount of time, if you have pushed through each part of this journey and not just given up halfway through or let yourself stay complacent or just go through the motions, if you can push through and break through the plateaus, increase the intensity, dial in on your nutrition, do the things that we say to do, you're going to get to this point here where you've achieved your goal. And then you're like, well, what do I do now? I didn't really think past this point. I didn't actually think I was going to achieve it, but I've achieved it. Now what? This is the fun bit. This is where we get to change up the goal. Maybe you've lost your 20 kilos of body fat and now you're like, cool, I need some shape. I want to start building muscle. Guess what? Perfect. We now have a new goal, and you know what that means? We go all the way back here and we start. Because whatever trajectory you're on, whatever journey you're on, whether it's losing body fat, losing visceral fat, building muscle, toning up, whatever it is, there are going to be different parts to the journey. Like your plateau when you're trying to drop body fat compared to where you're trying to put on muscle, it's going to be different. All right, we're refining nutrition. They're not the same things. So don't think if your goal is to drop body fat and you've done that and now you want to try and tone up, that it's going to be the exact same process, because you get to figure it all out again. It's not going to be as easy as it just was, because it's a different process. But if you can do it again and you can work through the stuff, there's still barriers. Yes, there are different things, but you've overcome a barrier before. You know you can do it again. That's what it's all about. Okay, and this is the stuff that's going to help you for the rest of your life, because if you know how to break through a plateau, or if you know how to dial in on your nutrition when you know you need to dial in on your nutrition, you can have these little things that pop up and you think, cool, I've put on a bit of weight, I need to make sure that I dial back into my nutrition. You know exactly what you have to go to. So it's not just something that you can learn and then be like, oh, well, that was kind of pointless to learn. This stuff stays with you for the rest of your life. This is also stuff that's very important to teach your kids, because kids don't get taught this at school either. People don't understand calories in, calories out, or knowing what protein is, or why it's beneficial, or what foods to buy from the shops. You know, people don't know this stuff. But if you learn this stuff, you can pass this stuff down. Or if you have friends that you know are struggling, that need help, boom, you have the information. You've done it. You know what to do. You can either say, hey, this is what I did. This is what worked for me. And you can help them out that way. Or you can just give them a bit of guidance. But that learning this stuff is going to stay with you for the rest of your life. Okay? So that's the milestones along the way. And then, as we were talking about with these bigger portions here, these are kind of broken down to help you progress to the next level. So like we said before, when you first start out, you're going to be feeling positive, you're going to have more energy, you're going to be building habits, you're going to be sore, yes, and you're going to be feeling good. Doing that helps you as we work through this. It gets you to this point here where other people notice, you're going to feel changes happening, you're going to be more motivated because you've seen the results, and these habits are sticking because you've been able to stick at them for long enough that they are becoming habits now. And then from there, that motivation that you've had because you've started to achieve results and you can directly see it, it pushes you up to this next level here where everything changes. Your lifestyles change. You're a better version of yourself than you were back here. Okay, you may have met new friends along the way. We see that all the time. You're going to feel a lot more confident because you've actually been able to achieve your goal. You know that you've done it, so you have a lot more pride in yourself. You have a lot more courage. You have a lot more confidence. All right, and you're a new version of yourself, which is the aim of the game. And then going back here, you get to do it again. It's like leveling up life again. And then when goals change, we go back here, we work our way up. When goals change again, we go back here, we work our way up. But if you can nail this trajectory, every time your goal changes and you want to change things up, you know what you need to do. Yes, the things are going to be different along the way, but you know what it is that you need to do. So the way that we've kind of put it on here is that this first bit here is more internal, okay? And that's what this feeling better means because it's internal. It's not something that you can see with your eyeballs. It's internal. It's how you feel. It's a feeling that you feel, so it's internal. The middle bit, so this bit here, as I said before, is where other people notice. This is where the habits are sticking and you can see the changes that are happening. This is the external piece. This is where it's visually identifiable. So you're jumping on the scanner, you can see the results. People are telling you, hey, you've dropped a bit of weight. And you're like, oh, okay. It's external, okay? And then this bit here, because everything has happened and you've been able to stick at it, it's permanent. It's like it literally stays with you forever. You've done it. It's like going through schooling. You've learned math. Now you know math. Okay, you've learned how to cook. Now you know food. You've learned how to drive. You know how to drive now. So it's the same thing. Once you progress on here, if you have this crazy goal to lose 20 kilos of body fat and you do it, you are never going to have to worry again because you've done it. You've literally done it. If you ever need to lose 20 kilos again, you can do it again because you've already done it. That's the biggest thing here. So that's where this stuff comes into play. So down here, very important to understand that you're going to feel better at the start. Don't go looking for the quick six pack or the quick, all this visual stuff that you're going to like try and see because it's about feeling better first. Okay, I know that sounds lame when I say it, but it's very important to understand because if you're so focused on looking better in this first bit and because you don't look better, you then give up, it's going to happen a lot more. So you have to focus on feeling better, knowing that you're making these changes, and then as you progress through here, this is where you start to notice the looking better side of things. But you have to get through this to be able to get through here. It's the same thing. You got to walk before you run. You can't just get up and run. You got to go through the process, and that's what this is all about. So this video was longer than I thought it was going to be. I hope I made sense. I hope I didn't bore you to death. And I do just want you to be aware of and ask yourself, where are you now? Like on this journey, say you've been with us for the last 20 weeks, are you at a plateau? Okay? Maybe it's been a year and you're still trying to get through a plateau. That's not a problem either, but it's being aware of where you're at. So now that you know, okay, cool, I've just been a little bit complacent, I've hit a plateau and I haven't tried to break through, I've just kind of stuck with emotions, I haven't done anything different, I've just been hoping that I can kind of get through just by doing the same stuff. It's not going to work. You're just going to keep bouncing off this barrier. We're going to break through to be able to get to this next level. So be aware of where you are at now. Maybe your goals have changed and let's dial it back to here. Maybe we've got to start from scratch. That's fine too. Maybe your goals have changed. So take some time, ask yourself where you're at now. Send us an email, send us a text when you're in the studio next. Let us know where you're feeling, where you're at, and let us know what you think that you need from us to be able to get you along the way. All right? How we can get up to here. Try and think how you can get up to here. So thanks for being with me for the last while, about 20 minutes. I really appreciate the fact that you took the time to watch this and educate yourself on this because the more you know, the better. We can give you all of this stuff, and this is like I was saying before, we can give you everything, but if you don't implement it, nothing's going to happen. Okay, so I'm proud of you for watching all the way to the end. I appreciate you. If you have any questions, reach out, text, email, message, come in on your session and ask us. We're more than happy to break this stuff down for you, okay? Cool. Talk to you soon.